Hi, I'm Gracie.
And I'm Callum. Both of our siblings died, so we decided to do what everyone seems to be doing right now and make a podcast about it.
We talk about death, grief, and all the weird stuff that nobody warns you about.
But it's not going to be all really heavy. There's going to be a lot of laughter, the occasional swearing, but be warned, there will be one or two emotional gut punches.
We chat to people who've also experienced grief, not necessarily sibling grief, but always someone with an incredible story.
Should we get on with it, Gracie?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Our guest today is Chanel Williams. Earlier this year, her brother James, known to many as the Vivienne, died after taking ketamine. Since then, Chanel has spoken out with her family powerfully about recreational drug use, trying to encourage others to speak out when they need help. Thank you so much, Chanel, for joining us. Really appreciate it. How are you feeling?
Okay, I think I haven't really... I've done a lot, obviously, around the ketamine side, so I feel like it's going to be tough to actually maybe come face to face with the grief element of what's happened.
And you're still so early on, and we
Really
spoke about
on,
this a lot, but just so there's proof as well, if you ever need to pause, please do.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
But tell us about James.
Yeah.
James was an incredible human being, just funny, so kind. Like anybody that met James, he really did change things for them. He just had that way, just so endearing, and he would help others in any way that he could. Just an incredible person and a force to be reckoned with in terms of, you know, everything that he achieved and the Vivienne achieved. Yeah, just a beautiful soul.
And you say everyone that met him, he changed their lives, but I think actually for a lot of people that just watched him, that saw the Vivienne on their screens, that saw like a force of nature.
Yeah.
Was James always like that?
Yeah, always. from when we were so young, he would just always entertain and always make people laugh. And it's funny because I look back now, and obviously we've all seen the Kim Woodburn and the different impressions that the Vivienne would do, but that was James as a child. We would watch a movie. Mrs. Doubtfire, he would remember every line and he would do it to a T. Just always the entertainer. You could tell that he was destined for greatness, for the stage.
That sounds like a pain to grow up with, though.
Oh, yeah, he was a pain in the arse.
Yeah.
He was a pain in the arse. But, yeah, I mean, typical siblings, I would say, growing up, we would argue constantly. And then obviously those arguments sort of shifted as we got a little bit older to the fact that he was stealing my clothes and, you know, critiquing my makeup. But yeah, we were always super close. He moved away when he was about 16. He moved to Liverpool. But yeah, we remained close. And I think that bond only grew stronger as we got older and I had children and, you know, just best friends. Best friends.
And he was a fabulous uncle as well, wasn't he?
The best. There's
so many pictures and he looked...
That doesn't surprise me for some
uncle.
reason.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, for the girls, it's just like the coolest uncle.
Oh,
I mean, what can be better than that? You know, they'd go and watch him in shows. Obviously, they went to see him in The Wizard of Oz, and just like bragging rights as well, like to their mates in school.
Massively.
But he was an incredible uncle. He was an incredible brother. But yeah, it's left a big hole in all of our lives without him.
A big hole, and such a big hole so recently as well.
Yeah.
Are you okay discussing a bit about how he died and kind of all of those events surrounding that, because this was so recent?
Yeah, it was it's very recent, and it was very sudden and completely unexpected. My brother had been touring with the Wizard of Oz, and then touring with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. We all just saw him happy and doing exactly what he loved to do, which was performing. And I think he'd found a real love within the theatre. So he'd come home for a break in between shows, and I think it was due to be a 2-week break. And I think we were only a few days into that in January, where I got a call to say that it was from my brother's best friend, and he was asking me when I last spoke to James. And I thought that was strange straight away for his best friend to contact me, but it just made me think instantly. I was like, I knew I was meant to see him that day, and I texted him earlier in the morning to say it had actually snowed. So there was thick snow everywhere. So I was like, the weather's pretty bad. Like, do you still want me to bring the kids and we'll go for lunch? And it stayed on one tick, but I didn't think too much about that at the time. And then when I got the call from his best friend, and he tried to sort of play it down a little bit, I think, and was like, when did you last hear from him? And then I was trying to think about that. And then he was like, look, nobody's heard from him. So is it okay if the neighbour who's got a key goes round to the house? They need your permission. And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, just go in. And I remember putting the phone down. And I don't know how they say about that sibling bond. I just knew.
Yeah.
And I looked at my partner and I was like, he's gone. Like, it was just a disconnect.
You felt in that moment?
I felt that there was, just with nobody hearing from him and the message not going through, I just knew something wasn't right, and I knew that he was home alone as well. So it was just the strangest feeling, like something had just gone, and I can't describe it. And my partner was like, calm down, he's probably he's probably like been out last night, or he's having a lie in. And I was like, no. So I just waited for that call, and as soon as I saw the number come up, I answered the phone. And his friend just said, he's gone. And I don't remember. Like, I just know that I just fell to the ground. You see that in films and you think it's like for effect. I genuinely couldn't feel anything, and I just screamed and screamed, and I was like, I need to go, I need to get there. But it's like all of these things go through your mind of like, what am I supposed to do now? And then I thought about my parents. And I thought, I need to tell them. So I rang my dad. And I said, he said, are you okay? I said, can you sit down? Like, you need to sit down. And I said, it's about James. And he said, what's he done? And I said, he's gone, Dad. And he just, it was the hardest phone call to have to make. And he just said, I'll be there now. So I put the phone down from my dad and I thought about my mum. But I knew she was going to work that morning, and I was worried about ringing her and her being on her own and not being able to get home from where she was. So I tried to ring and she didn't answer, and I feel like it was probably good that she didn't answer me in that moment, because I don't know, nobody gives you a textbook of how you're meant to call
You have no idea,
somebody
do you?
and say that, and when you're in that such an emotional state, you don't know if it's reality or not. Like, it's just so surreal. So I rang my uncle and I told him, and I was like, you need to get to mum and let her know. I said, I'm going to the house now. So he did that. And again, when we say about just a feeling, he said that when he got to my mum, she said, which one is it? Is it Chanel or is it James? And from there, my dad picked me up, and it's about 30 minutes to my brother's house from where I live. And it was just the longest drive ever to his house, and we just were completely silent the whole way there. And then you pull in and there's police, an ambulance, just people, and I knew where he was in the house. So I went through the door, myself and my dad, we went through the door and we just went to bolt for the stairs to get to him. And they stopped us, the police stopped us from going upstairs. And they wanted to talk to us before we went up. And they were trying to prepare us and asking, do we want to go? And I honestly don't really remember anything of what they said. I just wanted to be with him. And they let us go up. And he was there. He just looked so peaceful. Really peaceful. It just lay with him. And it's just, I don't really know how to describe it other than, I'll just say it as it was for me. I just lay there. I just said, I just want to go with you. Wherever you go, I need to go. You feel almost guilty saying that, because obviously, like...
Why do you feel guilty?
Because it's not that I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
But in that moment, and even now, I don't know how to navigate life without him.
Yeah.
You always have that, no matter what happened in life, I had that bond. Anybody else could come or go, but that bond was always consistent, and he was my best friend as well. And in that moment, you're just like, how the hell am I meant to keep going? And I was just looking at him, and I just wanted to stay there forever. And you can't. You just can't. And I think as well, but that moment is obviously, would you call it sacred? It's the last moment that, you know, I'm going to be with him, but you've got all these people around, and it's just so surreal because I started my day completely normal, and that's what's really scared me in life now, is how normal that day was, and how in a split second, one phone call, my whole life has changed.
And you mentioned about wanting to be with James in that moment and wanting to go wherever he went.
Yeah.
Do you find that now, some months on, you feel like he's with you in a way? Do you ever feel his presence?
Yeah, definitely. I think he definitely gives me strength. We were complete opposites. You know, he was a born entertainer, super confident, and that's never been me. You know, we were really opposite in that way. But obviously the trajectory of things that have happened since, and all of the things around sort of the campaign and the attention that has brought, I feel him any time that I go to do something, because I'm not confident in that way, and I feel like he gives me the strength to do those things.
That's beautiful.
I really do feel that. So yeah, I feel his presence, and I massively believe that there is something after this life, and I know that he'll be on the other side when that time comes. But I smell him. He had.
What do you mean by that?
So he had a really distinct aftershave that he would wear.
What was it?
Baccarat.
Okay.
Baccarat Rouge. Although he'll probably go mad for me saying this, but it's very expensive. So we started to buy like
The cheap version.
cheaper version.
The fake one.
Yeah. So
It's got to be done.
yeah. So, but it's so strong, and not necessarily when I'm out and about. I'll be at home, so that's why I really feel. Because I'll just get a waft of it, and there's loads of things that happen, and I think, you've definitely had a hand in that.
And that smell just comes about from nowhere, or it is literally that perfume happens to be nearby?
It comes from the smell will just come from nowhere. My mum, actually, she went to Spain, so we had a family home there, and my brother loved to go there when he had downtime. So she was really nervous to go, because it brings back a lot of memories. And she said that she kept getting the waft of the smell when she would walk down the stairs. And like my brother, he posted on Instagram actually, before he passed, not actually that. It was quite close to when he passed, really. He went to Liverpool with my mum, and he'd booked for them to go to the Ivy. It had just opened in Liverpool, and they were walking to the Ivy, and my mum's shoe completely broke, so the whole bottom just came off the shoe. And she was asking if there was anywhere to get sellotape to sellotape her shoe. She was deadly serious. And he was like, there is no way I am walking in the Ivy with you with sellotape shoes. It's not happening. So he ran across Liverpool, and he bought her a new pair of shoes. So the reason that I'm saying this is we went to the Houses of Parliament, and the night before I was like, come on, Mum, let's go for a walk in Knightsbridge. So we're walking, and her shoe completely disintegrates.
No.
It's another sign.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Gracie and I speak about signs
Yeah,
all the
you don't
time.
believe in
I don't
signs,
believe
but I
them.
absolutely do. That's the
So-
sign.
But now I'm believing. I'm a believer.
So her shoe completely broke. The exact same thing. The whole bottom just came off. And then I was like, this is so embarrassing. Come on, let's buy you
And
a
it's
new
right
pair
before
of
when
shoes.
you want to go to something
Yeah.
so important.
I actually think that your mum's got a bit of a thing going on here. I
I
don't
think
think it's a
she might
sign.
get better
Cheap
shoes.
She just
Yeah, but you say this.
she wants a new pair every
So
time.
the next
She
day,
knows what she's
we're
doing.
at getting ready to go into the House
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Parliament. So I've got my shoes on, and a white feather lands, and the next thing, the stitching completely rips
What?
down my shoe. So I was like,
You can't not
2
believe in
days,
signs.
2 days, 2 pairs of shoes, and I was like, yeah, he's 100% here. That and everywhere I go now, I hear Cher.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's always if I could turn back time, and maybe you do read massively
Maybe,
into
but-
things, but for me, when I hear if I could turn back time, I almost feel like he's telling me if I could change it, then I would.
Yeah, so there's a whole other layer to your grief that most people don't experience at all, and that's having to do it all in the public eye.
Yeah.
Everything you went through, people, and it's a testament to how loved James was and the Vivienne was, but that's so hard. That I could not even imagine how that must have felt having to do it so publicly.
Yeah, that side of things, it really was difficult because the day that James passed, it was like, what are we supposed to do now? And the decision was made that we would release a statement. And I think maybe what people don't realise with things like that is you can't tell anybody else in case it comes out in a different way. And so we had to wait until the statement was going out at 7 p.m. that night.
Oh, what an agonising wait that must have been.
I sat in my mum's house. There was my mum, my uncle, and my partner. And we just sat in silence for hours and then I remember sort of shortly before it was going to go live, if you like, that I rang my cousins and, other family members to let them know so that they didn't have to find out in that way. I think a lot of people didn't believe it initially. And then there was just this outpouring of love. So it's so hard to go through it and to sort of live it out in that public sort of space. But it really made certainly me realise the mark that my brother left on the world. I mean, it was just an outpouring of love and
Huge
respect.
outpouring.
Yeah, which is so lovely.
Yeah,
And
amazing.
He meant so much to so many people.
Yeah, he really did
Yeah.
change things. It sounds cliche because it's his song, but one of the songs that we always played because it was from Wicked is Because I Knew You, I've Been Changed for Good.
Yeah.
And that really is like what James and the Vivienne did is they left a mark, and it was really overwhelming to see the outpouring when they passed away.
Yeah.
And I imagine that brought you a lot of comfort. But were there ever moments where it was just all too much, that kind of public intrusion was too much?
I think I remember a few days in and people say, don't look.
Yeah.
Don't look at social media. Don't read anything. But you find yourself doing it regardless.
Yeah, of course you do.
And it's really hard when you see like an article's come out and then you go down that rabbit hole of starting to read the comments, and it is hard to see people writing truly disgusting things, because that's my brother. And
your
that's
baby brother.
Yeah, that's a person, you know, there's a family that have lost somebody incredibly important to them, and people are sat behind a keyboard writing the most vulgar things. That side of things was difficult. Certain media was difficult.
Should we name and shame them? Who are the fuckers?
There was one paper in particular who, within sort of 24 hours of my brother passing, were knocking on my dad's door and trying to talk to him through the Ring doorbell, leaving letters. I'd never thought that I would go through losing my brother. You know, he was my younger brother, so in the order that you think in your head,
should have been him at your funeral.
That's not how it was meant to go, you know. So I think with all of the attention surrounding it, I was extremely protective, and I was protective over my parents as well, because I didn't want they're gonna hurt regardless, and I think I know that now. But at the time, I was just like trying to do whatever I could to protect them. So I just went into this mode of like organising and sort of doing as much as I could to take it from them, because nobody tells you the stuff that you have to do when you lose somebody. And actually, it's hard to even process what's going on and your grief, because there's so many things logistically that have to happen that really take away from you feeling anything. And maybe I used that as somewhat of a crutch actually at the time, of like, right, funeral being the first thing. And I went to with my parents, but we went to all of the appointments. I coordinated all of that, and I was just determined that his funeral would be what I felt, everything that he would want it to be. So I was meticulous in every
that shows
detail.
it was incredible. You know, it looked. It's weird to say someone's funeral looked incredible.
I wanted it to look incredible. I wanted it to look incredible.
I feel like that's the kind of thing that James would want. Your funeral looked great.
Yeah, well, but you think, because I'm sure you guys have felt it too, and there's a certain expectation. People think that you're going to cry all the time, that, you know, if you talk about it, you're going to cry, or, you know, the funeral has to be a certain way and it has to be really somber, and, you know, everybody's mourning. And that wasn't who James was. And the Vivienne was obviously extremely glamorous. But there's so many things, there's so many sides to James and the Vivienne, and I was just like, I want it all in the funeral. So I sat with mum and dad, and we were going through, and we decided the entrance music was going to be the Jurassic Park theme tune, and I was like, yeah, that's happening. People singing. We had my brother's friend, who was part of the cast of The Wizard of Oz, Emily. She sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow during the service. And yeah, it just from start to finish, I feel like it was everything. I hope it was everything that he would want. But that wait in between when he passed and the funeral was I genuinely think I used that as a way of not thinking about actually, in my mind, it was like I was planning this big party for him.
Yeah.
So when we talk about because of who he was, I had to manage the list of people that were being invited because of the media and different things. We had to have security, and people's names had to be on the list. Yeah. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to come in. And you think if you don't have those things, it could get completely out of control. And so there was all of those things to consider. And when my brother was in the Chapel of Rest, I feel like that's what they call it. I made sure that I was there anytime anybody visited. And I think the funeral directors were sick of seeing me in the end, because some days I'd go there 5 or 6 times.
Wow.
And I'd be in there, and myself and one of my brother's really close friends, we did his makeup and got him ready. And I actually, again, it's like I laugh at things because I know he would. Yeah. At the end of the day, he was a comedian, and the first chance to take the piss that he was gonna do it. So my brother's close friend, she came with me, and we were like, right, we're gonna do this together, because I know that he would want to look a certain way, and I know he used to say that I was shit at makeup.
Felt like you needed backup, or he'd have told you.
So I was like, there's no way he would let me do this. So I got all of his makeup kit and everything together, and we went, and it was so hard to do that. Yeah. But his friend said, you get another brush and do the other side. And I was like, okay, I can do this. So I grabbed a brush out of his kit and swiped it across, and I didn't realise it was a bright blue eyeshadow brush. No. So I was like, I told you.
He was half Avatar.
Yeah, I was like, I told you he would want me to do his makeup.
I think he'd have found that quite funny.
He would,
Probably been swearing at you.
Yeah, I knew he was in that room going, I told you she'd do that.
Do you think there's any other things that he would be taking the piss out of you now?
Loads of things.
Yeah, go on.
Probably dress sense when I do any sort of TV appearance.
You're looking great today.
No, I think you'd be wrong with
Come
that.
on.
No.
I don't know. I think he would genuinely just be like, look at you, doing all these things.
It's role reversal, isn't it?
Yeah. It is role reversal, and he was definitely the natural on that side of things. But I hope he would be proud of the things.
I'm telling you now, he would.
I hope so.
He would.
Because it wasn't an easy thing to talk about how he passed away.
You kind of had to announce it twice, didn't you, in that sense? You had to announce that he'd passed away, and then I'm sure you were getting so many messages and awful comments, people wanting to know how. Yeah. And that's like grieving it twice as well, isn't it? I can't imagine how that must have felt.
Well, people make assumptions, I think, in those scenarios as well. So we'd had a lot of people, and even people actually coming up to us and assuming that my brother had committed suicide. And that was hard, because we knew he hadn't committed suicide. There's obviously a process of finding out what was the cause, but people assumed, and a lot of comments and things online were alluding to that. So when we found out that it was because of taking ketamine, we spoke as a family, And it was clear, I think, from that point that we wanted to do something to raise awareness, because you go through all of these different emotions and wanting to find out. I knew very little about ketamine. So I really wanted to educate myself and look at the landscape of what was going on now. And it really scared me to see.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. That it's rife. And you know, my brother had spoken openly about his addiction with ketamine and the issues around that when he appeared on Drag Race. And he'd done many years of sobriety, and we didn't know that it had become an issue again. You know, outwardly he was doing really well, you know, performing, 3 shows a day. There was nothing that I thought that he was unhappy or there was something else going on. So that's why it really did come as such a shock to us. And I think for me, it was like, what can I do? I've said this before with the whole campaigning side of things, is I couldn't help him. So I want to help other people. And I've gone through every emotion with it, of being angry. Why didn't you tell me? I would have done something. Why didn't you get help? Just talk. But I've started to look at addiction. I've actually started going to some peer-led lived experience groups. So I started to go weekly. I went to the first one because they were doing a ketamine discussion. I went into that meeting not realising how much I needed those people, because they're some of the most incredible people who have battled all sorts of, addictions, from alcoholism, drugs, ketamine, different degrees of that. But they sit and they talk so openly and so honestly. And I have started to share within those meetings. And they've helped me because they've made me realise that it's not as easy as just tell your mum, tell your dad, tell your sister. It's how you feel in that moment, and addiction is a disease. And that he may not have wanted to continue, but he just couldn't stop.
Couldn't stop it.
It had taken a hold.
And I think it's so admirable to see everything that you and your family have done.
Yeah, absolutely.
In honour of James. I keep almost saying the Vivienne. It feels weird because we all know the Vivienne, but in honour of James, and actually to try and prevent something like that happening in the future. Do you mind me asking about that kind of relationship between the public knowing your brother James as the Vivienne and also him as your brother? He was I would say ordinary guy. He was an extraordinary guy, an extraordinary man that was doing so much in his own life as well, including, I believe, about to buy his own home. It must feel weird.
Yeah, I mean, he was obviously extraordinary in the amazing things that they achieved, but he was so humble, so down to earth. And yet he was doing big things in his own life, and obviously Drag Race set off the trajectory of their career, and he really became focused on his life and what he wanted for his life. And a big part of that was buying his own property and being in a position to do that. And he'd been renting a property for a number of years, and he just completely fell in love with it. And I mean, it was everything that you would expect his home to be. And it was so quaint, and it was an old barn, and it was all really, everything was sort of vintage, and, you know, he just loved that homely feel, you know. And that's another thing when we look at the media, is they actually put pictures of another property in there, saying that was his home, and it was this lavish, beautiful property.
I love it.
With a lot of money, with silk carpets and, you know, all these amazing fixtures and fittings. And it wasn't it.
But
and
why
it
did
was
they feel the need to do
exactly,
that?
but it was so far from what his style was and who he was. He didn't want the huge, you know, house and all that grandeur. He was so happy where he was, and he'd really built a home there and a base then that was extremely difficult for us to navigate. And it was so early on from when he passed, in that the day that my brother passed away, he actually exchanged on his home. So he'd worked so hard to be able to do that. And the day that he passed away, he'd exchanged to buy the property, to buy his dream. And he was meant to complete a week later. And obviously, with what happened, we had to make some really quick decisions after he passed away. And I think that's the side of things that people don't see, is it's so hard to navigate all of those things because you're grieving and you're so sad that you don't want to think. And my parents especially, you know, wanting to keep the house, and, you know, and at first you're like, we're gonna do whatever we can to keep that house. But it's just not the reality of things. There's certain things that are just not possible. And it's in those times that you really sort of gauge people, and we're all human, and I think for me especially, you think that we will all act with humility and compassion. And actually what I saw with what happened around the property is so far from that, because my brother worked really hard to be in a position to buy the property. And because of a legal loophole, is what I'll call it, is the landlord actually had the decision to make. Now, he could have made the decision to say, I'm not going to take the deposit. It was still being held by my brother's solicitor. He could have made that decision. But he chose not to. So what he essentially did was he took my brother's life savings and retained the property. And that's been hard. It's hard to know that your loved one has worked as hard as he worked for a dream, and that somebody can do that to a family. That's hard. You know, when I think about what my brother would have wanted. He's got 2 nieces, and I know that
he would have wanted it to go to them.
He'd have wanted it to go to charity. He'd have wanted us to be able to do all of the campaigning things. It's not, I do not want it to come across like we wanted it. It's not that. No. It's the principle of...
It's not right, is it?
No, it's put a lot of pressure on my parents to come to terms with that. And, you know, nobody prepares you for all of these things. Clearing the house, you know, you have to do that we had to do that in a matter of weeks. And it's his whole world is in that home, and it's every item that you pick up breaks your heart every single time. I remember clearing his house and I found a bag, and it was his ice skates from dancing on ice. And just every single thing that you touch is a memory. So to go through that, and nobody tells you how to navigate that, you know, and you just have to come to, there's nothing I can do to change it. The only thing I can do is do better and be better, because somebody else's lack of empathy or heart in a situation doesn't mean that I have to turn cold to it. So I focus all my energy now on things that I can do that are positive, because if I focus too much on that, there's a lot of negativity, a lot of anger that comes with that. So it didn't turn out how my brother wanted. And it's, you know, I can't describe that. For that to happen on that day is just devastating. But it was all, I think everything that has happened has been a distraction for me. So the planning the funeral and being so involved, and then clearing the house and doing all of that, and then the campaign inside.
Tell us a little bit more about the campaign inside, because what you and your family are doing, but, you know, it's you that's in the spotlight, it's you that's doing interviews. It's incredible. The way that you're trying to turn this into something that will help other people. And like you say, you weren't able to help James, so to be able to do that for other people, you're saving lives by doing this, by talking about it. And, you know, you have the potential to completely change the trajectory of somebody else's life.
I hope so. That there's real change that needs to happen. There's systematic change that needs to happen. And I think when you start to scratch the surface and then you dig deeper into what the reality is of what is really going on, there's so many different elements to it. And that's sort of where it's led me on this journey. The initial thing for me was the classification of ketamine, because it is currently a Class B substance. And I was really shocked. Obviously, we've experienced it from the most devastating level. But it's a really harmful drug. You know, I've met and spoken to people as young as 20 who are doubly incontinent because of using ketamine.
20?
Yeah. So detox, I've visited detox facilities who are completely overrun with young people suffering with ketamine addiction. And you start to look at the serious health implications that come with an addiction to ketamine. Within the first 12 months, there's irreversible damage to the bladder. So what the detox facilities are seeing is a much younger age group going in with ketamine addiction, but with that comes severe pain from cramps caused by ketamine, obviously having to urinate frequently, some every 5 minutes. Wow. And it's a huge issue. So when I looked at the classification, our classification system should work on a number of different levels, in that the classification of a drug is based on the level of harm that the drug poses, but also around the sentencing for both possession and supply of the substance. So initially I was like, we need to get this reclassified to a Class A. And I stand by that wholeheartedly. You know, the conversations that I've had within Parliament are all around that, and they have put forth to the Advisory Council that they should review the classification of ketamine. But I want to be really clear in that it's not just about that. No. And when I have been to these lived experience groups and I've spoken to individuals affected by addiction, it's about changing the way that we do things. So if they are to change ketamine, which I hope that happens, to a Class A drug, then it will mean that sentencing for possession and supply will subsequently be higher. I feel that the police and our justice system know the difference between somebody who is in possession of a substance for personal use and somebody who has it with intent to supply. Yeah. We cannot be handing out harsher sentences to those that are struggling with an addiction. That is a failing in our system. Yeah. We need to be offering a pathway for people to get the help and support that is needed. So that again led me on another journey of really looking at what is out there and the strategy that is currently in place for drug use in the UK. So the government devised a 10-year strategy, and they called that strategy From Harm to Hope. And within that, one of the pillars that they put forward was that they were going to deliver a world-class recovery and treatment program. I mean, the fact that we have less than 100 inpatient funded detox beds in the whole of the country across 5 units tells you that we are so far from delivering a world-class program. And my fear is that you push people to speak out, which is what we want, and there's no help on the other side.
There's nowhere to go.
So there's got to be a huge shift. It needs a multi-agency approach. We need policing, public health, education, everybody on board, because that strategy is nothing new, it's nothing innovative, it's all things that have been tried before. So it needs review, and I hope that is going to happen, because I am fearful about what is ahead if we don't tackle the issue now.
So you obviously have big heels to kind of
big,
follow
glamorous,
in the footsteps.
extremely glamorous, expensive heels.
Yes.
Sibling grief is a very difficult thing, isn't it? It's very different.
Yeah.
We've both experienced, Gracie and I, the deaths of our siblings. How does it feel being a sibling going through all of this?
It's just the shittest club to be in, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. It's nothing that I can even describe it. It's a part of me that is gone. And you just have that reality. I think I had that early on of thinking, I'm on my own. I'm not on my own. I've got people around me, but that's the other part of me.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel
absolutely.
that, like, when it's
you feel
your
completely
sibling?
unmoored? That's the person that should be helping you plan your parents' funeral and helping you with life and your best friend, your built-in best friend. Absolutely.
And I think for a lot of siblings, their experiences are obviously so different. Like, you know, I've said this many times on this podcast, I'll say it many times again, but there are as many ways to grieve as there are people in this world.
Yeah.
We all grieve differently. Our experiences will all be different, and siblings' experiences will all be very different. For me, with time, I've been able to cope with some of those moments a bit more, but then suddenly they just come back. And like, you know, I'm at a wedding and I see the bride's sister there, or I see the groom's brother there, and I'm like, God, I'm never going to have that. And I find those moments quite difficult.
It's so difficult. I mean, we've just had Father's Day.
Yeah. And I bet your dad...
Yeah.
Nobody talks about, obviously, losing a dad must be horrific, and I wouldn't know. But that's a hard day for dads if you're missing a child. You're still a father, but you almost feel like half a father, I would imagine.
But it's for me, I don't know how to broach those days. You know, it's all of it. It was my brother's birthday in April, and I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know, I booked a meal, and I took a photo of him to put on the table, and a green heart balloon and a candle.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. And again, when we talk about things that he would laugh at, is
would he piss himself at that?
He would piss himself because my family had gone to the wrong place.
Oh, no.
So I was sat alone in a rrestaurant with a picture of a man, a love heart balloon and a candle.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like,
You would have looked like a real stalker, actually,
Yeah,
because
I look
people
like
would
a
have
weirdo.
known the
people
picture.
kept
Weirdo.
walking past and looking at the photo and just giving me this awkward like smile as in, oh, this poor girl, like, and
She
they kept
misses her
coming over
crush.
going, would you like a drink? It's like,
Need a
I
fucking
am
big
waiting.
one.
I am waiting for people.
Like, sure you are. Of course you
But
are.
I
yeah.
thought he'd be pissing himself
I bet he
laughing now,
would.
like at this. But I just don't. You don't know. Every day throws something at you, whether it be a song,
punches, isn't
a
it, all the
place
time?
that you go, just anything. My kids talk about him all of the time, which is amazing. You know, anytime that we're in the car and Eliza will see a star and she'll say, Uncle James, and she'll want to follow the star. And it's all of those things. We talk about him all of the time. We play Wicked in our house all of the time. But yeah, I think that question is hard for me to answer because I don't think that I've processed any of what has happened over the last 6 months.
And it'll probably take a while.
It's not even 6 months yet.
No.
And I think it'll be forever. Somebody asked me that actually the other day. So the inquest is on the 30th of this month. And someone said, do you think that will bring closure? That's not going to change anything for me. And I don't think closure will ever come because it was so unexpected. The only thing that I can hope for is in time it gets easier. Have you heard the thing about carrying a stone?
Yeah.
In your pocket?
Yeah.
Yes.
So grief is like carrying, and that is
Yeah.
what it's like, is you carry this weight with you all of the time, and you just hope that over time you learn to adapt to the weight.
Someone once said to me, your grief doesn't get smaller, but your life gets bigger.
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite you start to grow around it, like a tree that's kind of got barbed wire around it. And it does just grow around it, and it's always there. It doesn't change shape, it doesn't change weight, but you just carry it differently.
Yeah. I think
that
that's
will
what
come.
in time.
Yeah.
One of the questions we're trying to ask everyone is, how has grief changed you?
That's a tough question. It definitely has changed me. Some ways I think it's made me fearful in a way of life, and you try and block that part out to focus on moving forward. But it's, I think, I don't want to say grief has made me a better person. My brother has made me a better person, because he's given me the strength to keep going. And whether I have to carry that grief, but always, have him in my heart, then that's just the way that it'll be. And anything that I do for him, and to carry on that legacy. And I always say about the Vivienne leaves a legacy that everybody knows, because the Vivienne was an icon. And this is James's legacy, and I feel like I'm here to push that legacy forward, and for James to continue to leave a mark on the world that helps other people.
What do you wish? Obviously, people know about James and about the Vivienne, and that's amazing. But what do you wish people knew about your little brother? If you could give one thing, whether it's a daft thing, whether it's something incredible, what do you wish that people knew?
My brother was a big kid. Like, he really was. Like, loved Jurassic Park, loved theme parks, he was just so young at heart, and he's like Peter Pan, never wanted to grow up. He was always making people smile. But I think you see the Vivienne and this larger than life character, but there was another side to my brother, and he was so soft and so kind-hearted, just an incredible person, and the most amazing brother, and the most wonderful uncle. And I think that's the side that I remember. When I think about my brother, it's all of those memories from when we were kids, and he was annoying me constantly. And, when I think about him with my children and how amazing he was, they're the things that I remember. He was just an amazing person.
5 months in,
Yeah.
I cannot imagine me ever being able to speak about things as eloquently and as beautifully and as bravely as you have 5 months in.
Yeah.
And you said that you hope James would be proud.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone being proud of everything you've done. So thank you for spending this past hour or so with us. And
thank you for having me. I think it's done me a lot of good.
Good.
To talk.
I hope you enjoyed Chanel's chat there. I don't know if enjoy is the right word. It was incredibly emotional. I'm just blown away by her bravery and everything she and her family have done in memory of the Vivienne, James, an incredible person.
Yeah, absolutely. It was such a pleasure to have her today, and we really hope that you enjoyed that chat too. Thank you so much. Take care.
We're so incredibly grateful for all of your support and for you listening, and we hope this may have helped you or even just given you a laugh.
We'd also like to say a massive thank you to ACT, an independent charity of the Ardonna Group, for supporting the making of this podcast.
Absolute legends.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Please tell your friends, your family, maybe even your dead relatives about our podcast, and subscribe to the Dead Sibling Society wherever you get your podcasts, so you're the first to know when a new episode drops.
Please have a read of the show notes below and follow us on social media. And if you'd like to get in touch with us to tell us you hate us, you love us, or you just want us to shut up, please DM us or drop us an email.
Oh, don't tell us to shut up. That made me feel sad. But thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.